So today we're going to be looking at the market predictions for 2023. We're going to look at the economy, we're going to look at Bitcoin, and we're going to look at private jets and how all this kind of ties in together and what you need to be doing in your life, for your company, for your family, as far as travel is concerned. So according to Morgan Stanley, this year in 2022, there was a growth of the global economy of about 3%. That's going to go down to about 2.2% growth overall across the world. There's going to be a slow growth in the US, negative growth in Europe, and there's going to be quite a big spike in growth in Asia, with India leading the way at about a 6.2% growth prediction, according to Morgan Stanley. Morgan Stanley also predicting that the oil price will be up at about $110 a barrel, and that's as a result of the American government deciding to no longer drill in America but continue to buy oil outside of the United States, which has driven the price of oil up, which has driven the price of everything up, because anything we buy today has to be moved by a truck, a car, a plane, and they all run on oil. So that's due to continue for 2023. Now, interestingly enough, JP Morgan is predicting Bitcoin to bottom at $13,000 right now. It's about $16,500 as I'm recording this video. Then they're predicting Bitcoin to spike up again, probably around about March, April. It's going to start to climb again and probably settle at around $40,000 to $50,000 per Bitcoin. This is the end of 2023. Now, of course, you've got all the altcoins as well. Some of those will do very well. Some will disappear. Some will have a faster growth than Bitcoin. So Bitcoin predicting to have about 300% growth in 2023. So that's an interesting one to look at. And of course, we're coming towards the new halving of Bitcoin, which is going to happen in March 2024. Now, historically, when the halving happens, which means that if there's so many Bitcoins being produced a year, that production of Bitcoin will halve again. And historically, when this happens, Bitcoin has an increase of 6,000%, which would knock Bitcoin above the value of $1 million, maybe even $2 million towards March of 2024. So it looks like, crypto is here to stay, and crypto is going to be growing. In fact, I've had some crypto people knocking on my door and also on the doors of other people. You can also see some videos online of people with lots of Bitcoin and Ethereum and other cryptos that are looking at private jets right now. Some have already bought a private jet, and they're currently flying around in a private jet because they took advantage of, when last year Bitcoin hit $60,000, so they went and they cashed in and they bought themselves an airplane. There are others that are currently looking, and they're just waiting for a Bitcoin to start climbing again. Once it hits that bottom of 13,000 and starts climbing again towards 30, 40, 50,000, we're going to see these people jump in the market to buy a private jet because they want to travel, and they don't want to travel with the airlines. We all know airline travel has got extremely tedious after the whole lockdowns and that. And so more and more people are traveling by private jet. According to Honeywell, 74% of new private jet travelers are going to continue to travel by private jet exclusively and no longer go back to the airlines. So there's a lot of new people coming to the market. In fact, Honeywell's prediction for new jet deliveries, they predict 8,500 new jets delivered between 2023 and 2032. This is up 15% compared to their prediction last year. So this is spiked because of more and more people coming into the market. Now, what we're going to see on the price of airplanes, because a lot of people are talking about this crisis, saying because of the economic crisis, prices of private jets are going to go down by 30-40% next year. That's not the case. What we are certainly going to see is bonus depreciation in the United States is going to go from 100 to 80% as the 1st of January of 2023, and then bonus depreciation will go down to 60% of the 1st of January of 2024. So those are two important indicators to look at. As far as price of aircraft, we're going to see a depreciation of about 7%, but that 7% is going to be compared to 2022 prices, not pre-COVID prices. So we're not going to see much of a decline in prices of airplanes. Now, where we're going to see more movement happen on the market private jet wise? Well, what we've certainly seen, in particular in the United States, and I've said this before, we've seen a lot of people now going into the flight schools and learning to fly. They're getting their private pilot's license, they're building some hours, they're working their way up to their instrument rating, commercial pilot's license, and multi-engine, and going out and buying their own aircraft. Some people buy their own airplane right away and use that airplane to learn to fly in, and then they just work their way up to a bigger airplane. And the reason being is, these are people that have always loved aviation. They're seeing how difficult it's become now to travel with the airline. So they thought, you know what? I'll just go out and buy an airplane. I'll learn to fly. I'll, deduct all my training and everything as a business expense. I'll buy the plane and I'll use the plane to fly for business. That way I'm fully in control, can fly to A to B. I work my way up hours-wise. And you may have seen the interview I did with George Tucano a few weeks ago about how he went from no money as he moved to America 12 years ago to having his own trucking company with 200 trucks and now his own Phenom 100 jet, which he flies himself. He went out and learned to fly and got himself up to the point where he bought himself the jet. He uses the jet to fly around to build his business, and he writes it off tax-wise. So this is a trend which is going to continue, fueled by the US market, because the US have got lots of different airports. General aviation in America is the system favors general aviation. Here in Europe, it's a bit more difficult. There are a lot more restrictions to fly around here in Europe, and the cost is a lot higher. And you've got different licenses across countries between the UK and Europe. You've got landing fees, which are quite expensive. You've got Eurocontrol fees. So and then you've got weather challenges as well in certain parts of Europe. So it's a lot more expensive to have your own airplane here in Europe and fly around for business. And of course, a lot of the taxation laws towards aircraft for business and that are not as friendly as they are in the US. So the US market is going to fuel the smaller aircraft. We're talking the PC-12s, the Citation CJ1s, 2s, the Honda Jets, the Phenom 300s, the TBMs, all those aircraft. We're going to see a lot of movement in that area. As far as the larger jets are concerned, the G550s, the Global Expresses, the 7Xs, that market was driven a lot by Russians and Ukrainians and the Chinese. We have seen a little bit of a flex in that market. A lot of those airplanes come on the market as a result of what was going on with the war between Ukraine and Russia, and also flex in the market in China. Just keep an eye on what's happening in India with that 6.2% growth. I can see a lot of Indians jumping in the market to buy themselves a nice Gulfstream or Falcon 7X to fly around in. So overall, I don't see the private jet market going down. It's probably going to flatten. In certain areas, it's going to go up. That's my prediction. So private jet travel, charter-wise, is going to continue. If you've never chartered before, you can reach out to me. We can have a conversation about whether you should start chartering or lease or buy a jet right now. I'm available for a one-to-one call. You can just ping me an email. We can get on a call and find out more about your business and your needs and see what we can do for you here. So those are my predictions for 2023. So overall, just to recap, so we are going to see a little bit of growth in the market. And again, I wouldn't worry too much about what the media are going on about. You need to be aware of what's happening in the world, but you also have to not care. And when I say don't care, I don't mean be horrible and not help people in that. I mean, don't care as in don't get yourself roped into this negative talk about the economy that's coming through on the mainstream media. You've got to really worry about your personal economy, the economy for your family, your type of business. That's what you've got to focus on. So will an airplane help your economy grow? Will it help your business grow? And as Grant Cardone says, and he said it as he endorsed my new book, which will be out in 2023. I'll be announcing the publication date shortly in the next couple of weeks. My publisher, we've just finished a proofread of the manuscript. We've got the cover designed as well. It's called The Quantum Economy. It's all about the economy of the future and how the private jet is going to play an important role. So you'll learn a lot from this book. So we'll be announcing the publishing date on that. It'll be published both in the US and the UK at the same time. And if you want to join the quantum economy, you need an airplane. As Grant Cardone said to me in an interview we did a while back, he said that the second best investment that he did, first best investment was when he invested in himself, and the second best investment was in his airplane, because his airplane allowed him to go out and have many more meetings and fly the plane out to pick people up to come and see him and that. And he's used it as a very, very effective business tool. And that's what you need to be aware of. So be aware of what's happening in the economy, but don't care. Focus on your own personal economy and ask yourself the question, would a private jet or a private aircraft, even, learning to fly and buying your own, Beechcraft Bonanza or TBM 940 or PC-12, would that help you? build your business, depending on what business you're in, whether your business is just local to Texas or California or United States, or whether your business is international. What airplane would work for you in order for you to grow your business? And that's what you really need to be thinking about. And don't look at the purchase of an aircraft and the operation of an aircraft in a linear fashion. You have to look at it from with a quantum look on it, as I say. Look at it, from a quantum perspective, because you can only measure how that airplane is going to be a business tool for you after you've used it, not before. It's a bit like innovation, as I've always said. Innovation can't be measured before you innovate. Effective innovation is measured after you've innovated, and people are bought into the whole concept of your new technology or new system, whatever it is that you're using to innovate. And that's what the private jet is. So think of it and ask yourself a different set of questions. Look at your business right now and say, okay, if in 2023 I continue traveling with the airlines, how much am I going to expand my business? How are we going to operate? Well, if we have our own aircraft, how would we be able to operate? And those are the questions you need to ask yourself. And I can help you, go through that process, that thinking process, and plan your private jet future. Hope you enjoyed this episode of BizJet TV. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And if you want access to the exclusive content, click the join button below and you'll find out how to do that. Give us a thumbs up and let's just get the comments going. Love to hear what your take is on the predictions for 2023. And of course, give me a super thanks if you really enjoyed this one. Now, I'd like to invite you to go and have a look at the Quantum Action podcast, which I launched a few months ago. We'll be doing this once a week in 2023, meeting with movers and shakers, successful people, finding out their secrets, talking about different books that have been published and with their authors, and other books that maybe I've read. As you can see, I love reading, and talk about how those books have, shaped me and helped me in life, and maybe will help you too. So this is kind of the subject of the Quantum Action podcast. And of course, lots of content there. The whole goal of the podcast is to take you to infinity and beyond. So I hope you can click and subscribe there and enjoy the Quantum Action podcast as well. So that's all from me, Fabrizio Poli, here on BizJet TV on this episode, and I'll see you on the next one.